everybody, I'm back. I'm sorry about the extremely long wait for updates. I kind of wanted to post stuff intermittently as the job went on, but so many little issues and things came up in the build process for all the massive changes the last couple months. I decided against it, and I just post as soon as something interesting happened, and that's where we are here today. So I'm going to go over where the car is at right now, like status and everything, before we go into the main part of the video. Paint's still not done. One of the tires went flat just because we had a bent rim. That was a pretty big issue. They also put the lettering on the outside, kind of weird. That's a discount issue, not an issue with them, the shop. I'm just going over some of the new parts in the car, because basically anything that's shiny is new. Front disc brakes from Caddy Daddy. That was the biggest thing. I wanted the car to stop, to run, and to drive, and to be safe. So brand new front disc brakes to make it a lot more reliable and streetable. Obviously the LS and the power disc brakes. We're gonna go over that a little bit later. Going into the car, you can kind of see it's still in bad condition just because I haven't had a chance to work on it in half a year. Having trouble opening that. This is the new motor control harness. I got a painless, I believe, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. Ignition's still kind of on the ground. I don't know. That's hard to put back in. Other than that, really no changes in there. The inside is still full of all the parts. The headliner still needs to come back out. All of that stuff is still not done yet. The paint on the roof still needs to be done. The roof lights still need to be mounted. The front two are mounted, but the actual light bars and the pods are not mounted. But that'll have to be something I do in the next couple weeks, I suppose, when I get the chance to do it. Going around to the other side of the car, yeah, you can see I kind of just stopped when I ran out of paint, so I'm gonna have to do some down the side, finish that up a little bit. That's just small stuff. I probably won't film it. It's just been kind of hard to get a chance to do it. Also, yeah, the red stripe, obviously. It's about 80% done, but I'm gonna have to redo the whole roof just because it's kind of done poorly. There's some issues with the paint and the rust, but that's not a huge deal for now. That's years down the line. Kept the stock rear end just to save money and time, and so far it hadn't caused any issues in the little bit of driving from the test from the shop, but I'm sure that will probably cause an issue at some point. And here we are at the exhaust shop. So where we left off from the shop was the exhaust needed to be put on in order to get the car to run right. And when he got it started up, everything was fine with the engine, but the tune you could tell was off because the rough explanation was just because it needed the O2 sensors to be plugged into the exhaust. So we trailered it over to an exhaust shop and got the exhaust put on. And it sounds pretty good, honestly.
That pump wants to die.
So yeah, this is where our adventure starts today. Basic plan it was to get the car picked up from the exhaust shop, and at that point the engine should be running better. Bring it back to the shop that it's been at just to do a basic touch up, make sure everything's okay, and then begin the roughly 3-hour, 120-mile drive. So once we left the exhaust shop, I followed the mechanic. We just went and got gas because it was kind of low. I filled the tank up, and that it made it that, a half mile maybe, no issues, but it was misfiring, kind of popping, didn't want to shift right, but I was like, you know what, this is fine just for this cruise because hopefully it'll get better in the next couple of minutes and it'll relearn.
All right, we made it to the gas station, a quarter mile.
but you have to run it really slow, so I'm only at like a quarter yank. It's gonna take a long time. All right, she is on the road for the first time since maybe 1981, something like that. Running okay, having some issues with the trans not wanting to shift. The gas pedal needs a little bit of adjustment, but I'm following the mechanic back to the shop, and we're gonna do some last minute adjustments. And that's where we get here, about 2 miles away from the gas station, another gas station, this one on the side of the Katy Freeway in Houston, one of probably the busiest highway in the city, which the whole city is a busy highway, so that's pretty impressive. Car wasn't running right, running super hot, and a lot of massive issues were starting to come up where it would die as soon as you got off the gas. It would die, and it would turn back on every time, but it wouldn't run. It was so hot, it was overheating, it was misfiring, it was just running like a pile of crap. Honestly, running probably the exact same as it was when I brought it into the shop with the 390. Okay, that didn't go as planned. We're on the side of the Katy Freeway, overheating so much that one of the things, I don't know what they're called, is about to pop and drip and what is it called? Something with Hunter explained it, with a cooling system. That's not kind of like the opposite of a freeze plug, and it's already dripping, about to go. I don't know. What do you think? The lights work, the brakes work, the engine runs, but when it's getting hot, like way too hot, and it's not shifting, there's some issue with the trans just not knowing when to shift. Almost like it needs a tune that we don't have. So, got Haggerty coming, we're gonna tow it to the shop and continue from there. I don't know. I did not expect it to go this way. We made it maybe between 3 and 5 miles. It looks like, open this up. Looks like this ECU. I cheaped out, lesson for all you guys, I cheaped out and I got a painless swap kit. And the painless is cheaper than the Holley Terminator, but does not come with any screen to display diagnostics or issues or anything, or do any kind of, anything, no diagnostic, anything. And it's just the computer, bare minimums, like if you have a stock car or something. So, not optimal. Don't know, we're gonna get it towed back to the shop and then probably just trailer it back to the house and work on it from there. But it looks like it's gonna need some kind of download tune with a laptop, one of those kind of deals. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, pretty bummed, but I'm glad that we're not trying to risk it with this car because it's too important. Oh well. Well, we can go over the pros and cons, I guess, of everything so far. Engine runs probably really well. There's no smoking or anything. So that's the good. Power steering is really well done, good. The brakes do stop. I mean, obviously there's better, but this is not braking very well. Exhaust works. Gas tank is good. Brake lines and gas lines are all good. The main issues that doesn't want to drive, the biggest thing, it's overheating like a son of a bitch, and I can't use it. So I don't know. That was the whole reason I brought it to the shop, was to get it usable. It's not usable. In fact, right now it's operating the exact same as it was before I brought it to the shop. I mean, I bought the cheap harness because I trusted everything just working the first time. And the cheap harness doesn't have any of the diagnostic stuff, doesn't have the little screen to read off of, so you don't know what anything is. And now that something is going wrong, I wish I had that port, but I don't. Other than that, it's not wanting to shift. It's popping all the time. Like here's an exhaust clip of it, just with any gas. Like you can tell, like all the popping. So it's popping really bad. It sounds like there's something wrong with the tune for sure. I don't know what. But right, I'm just gonna spend the next 30 minutes to an hour waiting on a tow truck to get here, tow back to the shop, and then give up for the... All right, Hunter wanted to do a test where we put antifreeze in and check and see if that changed anything. And you can see the right side. Yeah. The right exhaust is pissing antifreeze. Looks like we might have a head gasket down on the passenger side. Look closer inspection on the engine. The driver's side, what is it called? Head has a new gasket on it, so it's been replaced or whatever, worked on. The right side does not, meaning it might have just needed to be fixed all this time from the last owner. So that's cool. So yeah, that's where this ended. It was really uneventful. We made it about 4 or 5 miles total, maybe at the tops. Then it wanted to die. So there's a lot of diagnosis left. Where the car stands is I'm getting it shipped back home just so I can work on it. Hunter seems to think that it is a blown head gasket, possibly because it lost a lot of antifreeze, and that shouldn't be right. So I'm going to do a leak down test, and there's a lot of tests I'll do, and I'll document it just so people know, because this should be a pretty easy engine to work on, so I'm not that intimidated by the engine. I don't think I'll need to replace a head, but worst case scenario, a head gasket. Engine seems really fine, but I'm also at the same time gonna install all of the temp gauge, oil filter, oil pressure gauge, all the dummy gauges on the dash, just so I know at least that, because without the good harness, there's really not much I can do. And that should probably be the biggest takeaway. I want to make sure no one goes and sends hate to the shop. I'm not mentioning the shop intentionally just because I don't want everyone to just go comment to them. But you know, just people on my Instagram probably follow him too, because I mean, he's a pretty good mechanic. The issues really didn't come from their work. The issues come from me being cheap and this being a budget build. That's what this is. These things happen. The engine's from a junkyard, and seems like I might have gotten lied to on the youth of the engine, probably not being 100,000 miles, and it looking like it's probably been a rebuilt motor. At the minimum, it at least has some symptoms of having heads changed, heads rebuilt. So that's going to be just some challenges we have to deal with. There's also the fact that I got the cheapest harness instead of getting one with good diagnostics. So I don't know, maybe in the future I'll change that, or, you know, definitely next swap I'm doing this, but that's the cards we've been dealt. So let's just see what we can do to fix it. But yeah, seriously, I just want to make sure that people don't go and send a lot of hate to the mechanic, because this situation has, I mean, a lot of worse mechanics would have done a lot less to make this an enjoyable experience. I mean, for instance, like when we broke down, Hunter sat with us for 4 hours, like 3 to 4 hours out there, and still tried to diagnose and found that head issue with the water coming out of the exhaust, like I mentioned. I mean, I told him multiple times he didn't have to be there, but he just did. So, and whenever stuff came up that was not planned for, or something didn't work, for instance, the gas pedal is a 1 year only thing that he planned for using the stock one, but because he has a 1963 ECTO-1, it's 1 year different, and the gas pedal's new, so he couldn't use mine. He bought one, and a lot of parts came out of the hourly rate for the build, like out of the bid. He did keep it in budget, although, I mean, the work still needs to be done. There is still work to be done, but I mean, he kept it in budget. He didn't keep asking for more like a lot of mechanics do. And I mean, just want to make sure that people don't go after the guy, because he does good work. They do good work. I think we just kind of, I think hopes and expectations got the best of both of us, because I thought it'd be pretty easy because he's already done one before, and so did he. And we both learned a lot of things about, cheap parts and the differences of year to year and how much of a pain in the ass these cars really are. I mean, hell, the original ECTO-1 broke down constantly during filming, and I have no doubt this one will be just the same. But thankfully, I have Haggerty, and they do towing for free, so that's the even bigger takeaway than don't buy cheap stuff. Buy Haggerty. Well, guys,
I just wanna be the one you love. I just wanna be the one you love.
I'm really sad. Pardon. Good night.